so proudly we hailed, and the twilight lies gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran fast, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land under the fray, and the home of the brave.
Don't be afraid, this is a low fat, and you are listening to honestanswerradio.com. Now, where is the egg roll you guys promised me?
The views and opinions expressed on the Honest Answer Radio show are the opinions of Honest Answer Media and no one else. If you're hearing a syndicated broadcast of this show, don't hold it against the broadcaster. Rather, congratulate them on their openness, tolerance, and respect for the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you.
You can't hide your lying eyes, and your smile is a thin disguise. I thought by now you'd realize there ain't no way to hide your lying eyes.
Yeah, you can't hide them lying eyes, Mr. President. Welcome to Honest Answer Radio here on honestanswerradio.com. We're bashing the mainstream media in the teeth every chance we get. If this is your first time tuning in to us, I'm going to be the Marty half of your dynamic host and duo this evening. Boy, that was tough getting out.
Well, you almost didn't get it, but you made it. You made it. By the way, I will be the Casey half of the Thursday edition of Honest Answer Radio.
Oh, well, as you
What
can
a
see,
day.
As you can see by our opening music there, the theme tonight is lies. Lies, lies, and more lies.
And the lying liars who tell them.
And the lying liars that cover up for them. And also, we will be addressing tonight, just this past week, somebody asked my wife, well, what can I do? What can I do? Well, every once in a while, Casey and I'll, give you a few things that you can do. And I saw something today on Facebook that set my blood to boiling. The longtime listeners to the show know how I feel about folks that don't vote, or how I feel about folks that are proud of the fact that they don't vote. And at some point during the evening, I will be addressing that. In my Facebook tease, I spoke a little bit about courage. That's one thing that it's going to take to turn this boat around. It's going to take courage. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. Don't know. I think that's relative to the individual, how much courage things are going to take. But it does take just a smidgen, just a smidgen of courage to admit that maybe you might have been part of the problem for a while.
Well.
You know,
And now, what else are we going to be getting around to tonight, man?
Well, I've got some audio. for
Yeah, you
everybody.
were in here, while I was in there, watching all these videos and posting them. Marty was sitting in here with giggling and occasionally there was some cussing. I heard a little bit of cussing.
That was when the president was talking.
Yeah, I think that was, as a matter of fact. But Marty was quite the busy person today himself.
Well, let me tell you what I got. I got the president.
Syphilis?
I got the president.
Oh, close. That was close.
The president spoke today. He said, "Don't y'all worry. Everybody got your insurance policies canceled." President Obama to the rescue. I'm going to seize powers that I don't have and change the health care law so that you people will be okay.
Because it's, after all, as the president said, it's only 5%.
Yeah, and he also said it's all on me.
And we're going to explain when we get to that why 5% is a lie.
But that's all right. That's all right. We're going to get there.
We're going to get there. Okay.
Now, and something about that speech, after he made it, and he's making all these promises again, about what he's going to do to try to fix this thing. Howard Dean had something to say about that kind of made me go, huh? But we'll play that. I've got, Trey Gowdy. You posted a video, I think it was yesterday, of Trey and Greta Van Susteren.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. There's at the very end of that little interview there, there's a particular piece that I'm looking forward to playing. This is where my maniacal giggling came in. Because I flashed back to something from a long time ago that,
Something else that made you giggle like that?
Well, it was like deja vu. Like, I've heard this before. This.
No.
You know how sometimes we'll say, pay attention because you'll see this material again.
Are we seeing something again? Oh, I can't wait till we get to that part.
Yeah. It's interesting how history repeats itself, man. Very, very interesting.
So what else do you have up your sleeve? Because you were giggling a lot and cussing a lot.
Well, yeah, and I've also got a little Ted Cruz for everybody. Because, man, come on, I love Ted Cruz. You love Ted Cruz. You can never have enough Ted Cruz on a Thursday night. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Okay.
It's Ted Thursday.
It is. Now, I don't know where to start, though. I really don't. I think, tell you what. Let's start with the president. Because he's the one that got us in this mess, and I think we should hear him out. CBS News'
do we have to?
Well, now, it's not just him we want to hear. CBS News' Major Garrett, after the president spoke this morning, making his little promises, I'm going to fix all of this. Major Garrett had some pretty pointed questions to ask the man, and I think it's worth hearing.
Hold on.
Okay.
Before you play that,
yeah.
Major Garrett was kind of aggressive in this.
A bit.
Now,
a bit, yeah.
Is that normal?
Well, for Major Garrett, it's normal. Now, he's with CBS now, but he used to be with Fox, Fox may be a right-wing conservative news viewpoint network. They are very much still part of the mainstream, but they are the network that really digs, and they're not afraid to be aggressive as far as the president goes. So, is it normal for CBS? No.
See, that's what I'm getting at. I'm used to Major Garrett. He's asked some tough questions before.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Major Garrett. I was just before you played that clip, I just wanted everybody to have that in their mind so they could listen to the Major Garrett portion.
Yes, because it is odd that this would be coming from CBS. Very odd indeed. But without further ado, here we go. Take it away, Major.
You said while the law was being debated, if you like your plan, you can keep it. You said after the law was implemented or signed, if you like your plan, you can keep it. Americans believed you, sir, when you said that to them over and over. Do you not believe, sir, the American people deserve a deeper, more transparent accountability from you as to why you said that over and over when your own statistic published in the Federal Register alerted your policy staff, and I presume you, the fact that millions of Americans would, in fact, probably fall into the very gap you're trying to administratively fix now? That's one question. Second question. You were informed, or several people in this building were informed, 2 weeks before the launch of the website that it was failing the most basic tests internally. And yet a decision was made to launch the website on October 1st. Did you, sir, make that test? And if so, did you regret it?
With respect to the pledge I made that if you like your plan, you can keep it. I think, and I've said in interviews, that there is no doubt that the way I put that forward unequivocally ended up not being accurate. It was not because of my intention not to deliver on that commitment and that promise. We put a grandfather clause into the law, but it was insufficient. Keep in mind that the individual market accounts for 5% of the population. So when I said you can keep your health care, I'm looking at folks who've got employer-based health care, I'm looking at folks who've got Medicare and Medicaid, and that accounts for the vast majority of Americans. And then for people who don't have any health insurance at all, obviously that didn't apply. My commitment to them was you're going to be able to get affordable health care for the first time. You have an individual market that accounts for about 5% of the population, and our working assumption was, my working assumption was, that the majority of those folks would find better policies at lower costs or the same costs in the marketplaces, and that the universe of folks who potentially would not find a better deal in the marketplaces, the grandfather clause would work sufficiently for them. And it didn't. And again, that's on us, which is why that's on me. And that's why I'm trying to fix it. And as I said earlier, I guess last week, and I will repeat, that's something I deeply regret because it's scary getting a cancellation notice.
My.
Those poor people, man, we're all just so frightened.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Look.
But don't worry, because top flight president on the case.
Look.
They need security in healthcare, Craig.
All right, let's go back to that whole 5%.
5%. Yeah.
Okay. I think it was John Hinderocker on Powerline.
Bless you.
Today. I hope I said his name right.
Oh, yeah, that was a name. I thought you were sneezing. I'm sorry.
He published the chart from the page of the Federal Register, I think, that Major Garrett was talking about when he was asking that question. Look, the 5%, the president's even lying about that.
No.
Because he's completely brushing aside that, he's talking about 5%, this individual market.
That only amounts to 5%.
Well, that it's even that grandfather clause is even totally applying only to that individual market. What the reality, which the president knows this, he has to know this, man. The reality is that this affects more than the individual market. The employer mandate doesn't kick in until 2014.
That's right.
But the estimates in the Federal Register, lowballing them is about 50-something%. Highball estimate is about 69% of cancellations.
Wow.
Are going to happen. Okay.
Are going or already have happened?
Some of them already have. I mean, there are some of the group plans that people have been on through that insurance that they've gotten through their employer have been canceled. These aren't all self-insured people. that we're talking about here, man. You know, and he knows that some of these people have been dropped off of their employer-provided insurance plans. Now, this is going to involve more than 5% of the people currently insured. He knows that by now.
Well, and wouldn't you say that it's even a little bit more than disingenuous?
It's lying. It's a lie.
Or to pretend that he's only learning of this for the first time, or that this was somehow the grandfather clause was going to work for a whole universe of people, Casey. A whole universe of people were they were going to be grandfathered in, and it was going to be okay. And well, now we find out that that's not the case. What do you mean? Now we find out that that's not the case? You knew that it was not going to be the case from the beginning. And see, that's just it. You got all these people in like Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel, who was one of the quote-unquote architects of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I get into the audio with him and Megyn Kelly, that smug little...
you can't say it. Don't. Be careful.
Bad word. Oh, man, yeah. Ooh, okay, let me get my grip. All right. When Mr. McSmuggerson was talking to Megyn Kelly, he was trying to downplay this, like, this is... we didn't really see this coming. And Megyn is trying over and over again to say, wait a minute, what do you mean? Can you not admit that the president knew all of these people were going to lose their insurance? Because the president, listening to what he was saying he was going to try to do about this,
it's not going to
work. Once you've already gotten your cancellation letter, they can't make them call you back and say, oh, here's your old insurance policy again at the same rate.
It's like those people that go, oh, my bad, and that's supposed to fix whatever it was they just did that was bad.
Yeah,
Come on.
And that brings us to this little piece of audio with Trey Gowdy and Greta Van Susteren, because Greta wants to ask about those people, Casey, the ones that have already been dropped from their insurance. Now, Megyn Kelly's numbers are 5 million from Fox News, and Ezekiel Emanuel says that, Fox News is the only ones reporting 5 million. We can get into that too if you want, but I'm sorry, Zeke, that the numbers don't sound all that good to you. Zeke is trying to quibble over 2 million. He's saying that it's closer to 3 million, like 3 million people losing their health coverage, getting a cancellation notice saying, so sorry, but you don't got no health care no more. I mean, what about those people? Just listen to this little clip.
But I don't even understand. Even if Congressman Upton's bill is taken up, I don't know how you can force insurance companies to reinstate policies they've already canceled. And even if you could, I don't think the federal government can do that to insurance companies. I think it's illegal. But even if you could, the insurance companies have to get permission from the states. We're up against the clock. I don't see how any of this could possibly. I think this is fanciful talk.
I'll leave you with a quote from Edgar Allan Poe: "What a tangled web we weave when at first we practice to deceive." When you base a campaign on something that's demonstrably false, is if you like your health insurance, you can keep it, period. And then it begins to unravel. You got a couple of options. You can admit to people that you lied, which he has not done thus far, or you can look to bail you out. And I'm happy to bail my fellow citizens out, but I'm not going to bail him out.
But see, that's not even, forget the political aspect. There's some people out there who are in the middle of, like, let's say, chemotherapy, and they've gotten the notice at the end of the year their policy is going to say, what can you possibly do for that person? I don't have any sympathy for the politicians who find themselves in a mess. I do care about these citizens who are really scared tonight and worried. What can you do for them?
I wish I had a good answer for you. I cannot answer that question other than the president loves to say elections have consequences, and he's right. But one of the consequences should not be that your fellow citizens are punished, even folks who voted for him. If I can bring relief to people despite the fact that we warned them ahead of time, this is not going to work, I will do it. But we're so far down this train track now. You're right. You can't tell insurance companies what product to offer. You can't go back and re-offer canceled policies. So this is what happens when you base a campaign on a fundamental lie.
Well, it's deeply disturbing to me. I mean, it's sort of there's sort of the drama goes on here in Washington, but outside Washington, there are people really scared and really suffering and terrified of the consequences. But I guess he says he's going to look at all the options. Let's hope he has some.
I hope he does.
Yeah, I hope he does too. I hope he does too. You know, that little clip there, listening at Greta Van Susteren talking to Trey Gowdy and saying, what about the people who are taking chemotherapy right now? And they're finding out that they're going to lose their health coverage. What about them? What can you do for them? It sort of called to mind a little audio or a little video clip from one of my all-time favorite movies, Where the Buffalo Roam, which is about the life and times of one of Casey's and my favorite authors, Hunter S. Thompson. And in the movie, he's in the bathroom with President Nixon, and he's talking to the president. And well, you know what, man? Tell me at the end of this clip, tell me this isn't what you heard from Trey Gowdy and the president.
Let me ask you a question, sir. What is this country doing for the doomed? There are two kinds of people in this country. The doomed and the screwheads. Savage tribal thugs who live off illegal incomes, burrow deep out there. No respect for human dignity. They don't know what you and I understand. You know what I mean? And the poor doomed, the young and the silly, the honest, the weak, the Italians, they're doomed. They're lost. They're helpless. They're somebody else's meal. They're like pigs in the wilderness. Come here, Horace. Come here. The doomed.
Yeah, all right, I had to edit that last part, but I'll just
What he
say,
said was not very nice
he said
to do
forget
to the doomed.
doomed in a not-so-nice way with another word that started with F that we promised meemaws all over the world that we wouldn't let on this show.
But yeah,
that's what I heard today out of the president. Forget the doomed. That's what I heard out of Trey Gowdy when she's saying, what can we do for those people? Forget the doomed. I love Trey Gowdy, and it's not Trey Gowdy's fault.
No, but he's saying that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
That's right.
You can't just go and uncancel everybody's insurance policies with the stroke of a pen. I mean, the thing is it even legal for him to do it?
You know what, man? I was talking to my son today about, I did a lot of things in my younger days that I am not proud of. And, you gotta own up. You gotta own up to the things that you did wrong and then move on from there. But you can't, even if you spend the rest of your days trying to make up for something, and you do, even if you do redeem yourself, all right, you can't undo those moments where you messed up. No matter what you do to try to make up for them, the damage will always have been done. That moment in time where you used your bad judgment, or you did wrong, or you misled someone, or whatever the case may be, you can never exactly undo that. You just can't. That damage is done. And just like Obamacare, with all of these insurance cancellations and people freaking out and panicking, and the president coming out on television and saying, don't you worry, I'm going to fix it. You can't, sir. with all due respect, you can't.
No,
fix
see,
it. It's done.
you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unbreak the lamp that you broke.
You perpetrated a fraud. You knowingly perpetrated a fraud on the American people.
And
knowingly.
He may not ever get impeached for that.
No, but people can know the truth. You know, part of my Facebook tease said, you know, how long are you willing to let a lie go on?
And
everybody lies or has lied at some point in time. And most of the time when you're lying, you get caught, right?
Right.
At some point, somewhere, that lie comes to an end.
Because you usually have to tell another lie to cover up that lie.
But
the more you...
If you know that there's a big whopper out there, you know, going around,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that it is doing damage, okay, you can't unknow that it's doing untold damage. That lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's affecting a whole lot of people. Are you willing to let it go on? And if you are, how long are you willing to let it go on? And if you're not willing to let it go on, then what are you going to do about it?
See, it can't just continue to keep going on. Because, okay, you played in that 6-minute clip that you played last week, the montage.
Lie after lie after lie.
Lie after lie after lie. I believe, didn't you have one of him in 2007 as candidate saying that he was wanting to go towards single payer, that was what, okay.
Yep.
We already know that the plan was to crash private insurance to go to a single payer system.
But they still won't admit that.
Every lie that he tells right now is an attempt to cover that fact up. And this is what people who are listening to us need to just keep in the front part of their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And also remember, because at the end of his speech, because I mean, you and I both made ourselves sit through the speech today.
Right.
Okay, not just the question and answer session afterwards, but towards the end of his speech, I believe is where it was, where he was essentially blaming the Republican Party
and the insurance companies,
and the insurance companies, but mainly. Well, actually, it works for both the Republicans and the insurance companies. Look, what he's doing is like this right here, Marty. You just sprained your ankle, and it's all swollen.
Mm-hmm.
You come to me and you say, "Hey, look, man, look at this, man. My whole foot's swelling up here." And I say, "Okay. Man, you probably ought to go see a doctor and let him give you something for that inflammation, because that's what that is." And you say to me, no, Casey, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this .44 Magnum revolver right here, and I'm going to shoot my foot with this .44 Magnum, because I think if I just let the fluid out, that it's going to be it's going to get better and the swelling will go down. And I say, no, Marty, don't do that. Here, look, here. If you're going to just continue down that road, here, just take this ice pick and poke a small hole in the bottom of your foot, and that'll let the fluid out. And you go, nope, I'm using the .44 Magnum.
You know, that sounds just like me too, by the way.
And I'm like, and then you go ahead, blow a hole in your foot with me saying, no, Marty, don't, please don't, and going and getting other people. And they all say, no, Marty, don't do this. And you say, I'm going to do it anyway, and you just pull and blow your foot off. And then you turn around and want to sue everybody else around you because you blew your own foot off. That's what this is, when he's trying to shove the blame off on the Republicans because we tried to, or I said we, oh my God. But the Republican Party tried, when Ted Cruz,
That's just
and
most
Mike
recently.
Lee.
That's just
and,
most
and
recently.
Jeff
though.
Sessions and all these people that are Tea Party that have the backing of the Tea Party have been saying
The wacko
all along, we need to repeal this. We need to repeal this. We're going to filibuster to keep this thing from happening at all. Defund it, defund it, defund it. And, you know, they're getting turned around. They're getting blamed for this train wreck.
And you know what else though, man? You know what else? It wouldn't be so bad if it was just the president
Oh,
that was, keeping the
ain't that the
going.
truth? If it was just him,
But he's got like 50 bajillion media outlets at his fingertips helping to spread the lie. In this next audio clip I've got, it's the Megyn Kelly, Ezekiel Emanuel bit. The man refuses. He refuses to acknowledge how many people have already received cancellation notices or will receive cancellation notices. And he, in the beginning of the interview, when Megyn Kelly quotes 5 million, he says, Fox News is the only ones reporting that. That's pretty sad. That's not something to stand there and be proud of. That's more or less saying, well, the rest of the media outlets know which side of the bread the butter's on. So just listen. Listen at the condescension and the high and mightiness just dripping off of this little pipsqueak.
Are you saying the two things are totally unrelated? Obamacare and the 5 million, pick your number, of cancellations in the individual market, totally unrelated?
No, I'm saying, look, the insurance industry was not forced to cancel anyone. They canceled people before, and they see this. They see the individual market as going away, and they're getting out of it.
I will give you that
they're
point
going
for the
to the
purposes of
exchange.
discussion. Okay.
All right, now wait. Now, you hear Megyn Kelly there saying, I'm going to give you that point for the purposes of discussion. She's not agreeing with the man. Even if it's true. But you hear him, well, she's willing to concede all of his points to say, even if that is true. But still, listen to this man. He's throwing the blame everywhere. Except to him who wrote it and who knew this in the beginning, which is what she's trying to get him to admit, or the president knew. So just keep listening.
I'll go with you on that. Let's say that is the case. Did you foresee that happening?
I think when you change the market, things change, and
That's
businesses
not an
make
answer.
different decisions.
Did you foresee that happening?
It is. I saw them going to the exchanges because that's a better market for everyone, including them.
Okay, but that's different. Going to the exchanges on their own because they saw it and said, I like it, it's better than what I have. That's not the same as the insurance company saying, you are canceled and now you're on your own. Did you foresee that happening?
That is absolutely, they have canceled because they don't see that as they don't see that as a growing market. That's their view.
You are not answering.
They think the exchange is rising.
Sir, you're not answering. You're not.
I am answering. Their business decision says the individual market is dying. We're going to go to the exchange. That's how they're playing this.
Okay. So when the president said to the people, if you like your plan, you can keep it, period, you believe he genuinely believed that in his mind? And that he did not foresee the mass cancellations we're seeing now.
Whether you could anticipate what business would do is irrelevant. The Affordable
Stop
Care
saying
Act.
that, because I'll tell you what's relevant to my viewers. I think I know my viewers, and I think they think this is relevant. So can't you just assume with me, for the purposes of our discussion, that I'm right and give us an answer?
No, I'm going to tell you. The Affordable Care Act did not require any single insurance company to cancel a plan. They decided.
I'm going with you on that.
to do that.
They decided to do that
for business reasons.
I'm giving you the purpose okay.
They decided to do it for business reasons.
Listen. I am giving you that. Okay.
Good.
So it's all the insurance company's fault. They're bad. They did something bad.
I didn't say they're bad. I just said that they made a business decision.
All right, fine. Why didn't you foresee that? And why didn't you plan against it? And why didn't you say to the American people, you need to know what's going to happen on the individual insurance market because it's going to be very relevant to your life, your health, and your children's health?
Because we were offering them a better platform to buy insurance called the exchange. That was the rationale.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So let me get this straight. When you help to write a law and you structure that law in such a fashion that business people are going to have to turn people loose.
Right.
When you create the climate that they don't have another choice to do that, can you turn around and blame?
Well, apparently you can. Apparently you can, because that's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to play this off and say this was a business decision. The Affordable Care Act did not require any insurance company.
As if he had nothing to do with creating that necessity for that business decision.
He said that the Affordable Care Act did not require any insurance company to drop any person from or to cancel anyone's policy.
And that's a lie. That's a lie.
Because the president even said last week, that's exactly what he was apologizing for again today. He was saying that all of those policies that got canceled were canceled because why? Because they didn't fit the criteria of the grandfather clause. Because they were subpar. They weren't good enough. So yes, you did know. The insurance company didn't have anything to do with this. It was mandatory if they were going to come into compliance with the Affordable Care Act, they had to, by law, cancel those insurance policies. And that little mealy-mouthed twerp, that little sawed-off shrimp pipsqueak, no-load, dip-dunk, grabastic piece of whale excrement can sit there and with a straight face and a smug look on his little twerpish face try to pretend that this is somehow a business decision on the part of an insurance company.
Well, yeah, because they don't want to go to jail.
It's an insult to the intelligence of the American people.
You don't understand what he means. See, we're back to definitions again. You don't understand what he means by business decision. See, it's a business. What he calls a business decision is people going, "Hey, man, I don't want to go to jail." I mean, if that's a business, it's a Chicago-style business decision because that's where that man you was just referring to, which, by the way, not a single curse word in that whole rant. Very good, very good.
Restraint.
But I mean, he's from Chicago. That's a Chicago business decision.
A Chicago business decision is where somebody named Vinny walks up behind you with a gun and says, "Give me all your freaking money." And you give him your wallet, and he goes, "That was a very good business decision on your part there." Or
when he walks into your place of business and goes, "Yeah, this is a nice-looking joint. It'd be a shame if something happened to it, like it was to catch on fire or something."
I would really hate it if perhaps every bit of your merchandise somehow wound up broken and shattered pieces on the floor. That would just be most unfortunate. But I can see that it won't happen to you for a modest fee payable every week, 125% of your take, say, at the beginning, with more to come. That's the Chicago way. That's a good business decision. You know, it would be a very sound business decision if you paid me a lot of money to keep anything horrible from happening to your business at my hands.
That's exactly what he's...
that's the way he handled the shutdown, the government shutdown that he blames still on the Republicans. They still love to say that little government shutdown led by Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and whatnot, trying to stop this train wreck from happening. It's what losing their insurance. This is somehow their fault.
Exactly. See, this is Now, Mr. President, we ain't that stupid.
Well, apparently he thinks we are, and he thinks that we're stupid enough to believe that now that all of this has happened, he thinks we're stupid enough to believe that he holds the power to do anything about it in his hands.
But now, see, this is how you know the man's living in a bubble.
Because ain't nobody told him he can't do nothing about it. That it's Congress that has to, if Congress passes a law, it's them that has to change it or...
Yeah, well, I mean, aside from the illegality of him trying to, quote-unquote, administratively change this law, blah, 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 in spite of that, in spite of selective enforcement not being legal, okay, it just put all that aside.
All right.
You know he's living in a bubble because even other Democrats are jumping off this thing like rats leaving a sinking ship, dude.
Dude, listen to this. Howard Dean.
I wonder if he has the legal authority to do this, since this was a congressional bill that set this up. And B, I stick to what I said before the president came on, which is if you want to make this work, you got to get people in the system, and the website's not going to work, evidently, for a while.
Don't know if he has the legal authority to do this. Even Howard Dean, who has applauded virtually every in-run around Congress taken by the president, even he, in his minuscule, teeny tiny little leftist Marxist brain, can see that while, you know, it would be nice if President Obama wielded such a big stick. Unfortunately, he doesn't.
Yeah, because, see, he can't do this, not legally. There is no way, man.
How much more of this are we willing to take? And how long are we going to sit by in our places of business, in our workplaces, in our workstations, in the supermarkets and Walmarts and shopping malls, when we hear people talking about this and we hear them running down those mean old Republicans, this is all their fault? How long are we going to let them continue? How long are we going to sit by and let the lie keep going around the world? How long?
I don't know. I mean, we're talking about it. I see other people out there bringing these points up. People now, there's no excuse for not knowing what's going on right now. If you have a broadband internet connection or even 3G wireless, there's no way that you cannot know some, at least parts of this. And see, any part of it that is wrong brings the whole structure down. See?
That's exactly what people like Trey Gowdy, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, Jeff Sessions, that's exactly what they've been saying from day one. They've tried at every turn to stop these things from happening. They have gone against the grain, against their own party at times, when their own party really wished
they'd
would
be quiet. Yeah.
They were trying to stop this. Listen to what Ted Cruz said today.
Millions across this country are losing their health care, are losing their doctors because of Obamacare. In Texas this past week, the Austin American-Statesman reported that Austin's largest provider of cancer treatment won't participate in the health insurance plans offered through the marketplace set up by the Affordable Care Act. And indeed, they went on to quote, "Obamacare looked like sunshine on the horizon, and now it's a tornado," said one Austinite who has breast cancer and is being treated at Texas Oncology. In an upcoming issue, Texas Medicine, a publication from the Texas Medical Association, references a survey by the Medical Group Management Association that says uncertainty has 40% of physician practices across the country pondering their participation in marketplace-based insurance plans. And by reducing their risk, Texas Oncology is passing a burden on to some already stressed families, said Seth Winnick, whose wife is being treated by Texas Oncology for breast cancer. Quote, "It's an unwelcome burden and could seriously affect thousands of families who deal with cancer in our communities. If Winnick's family is forced to pay out-of-network rates to treat his wife, the family will have to make some tough decisions." We will make the financial sacrifice necessary to purchase the best care we can afford, and we hope that is enough. But Mr. Winnick continued. He had nothing positive to say about the people who provide care at Texas Oncology. But he also said expanding health care coverage to people who don't have it is a noble goal. But the impact that has on those of us who do have it remains to be seen. Folks in the individual market don't really know what is in store. Mr. President, President Obama promised the American people, if you like your health care plan, you can keep it. We now know that promise wasn't true. Obamacare isn't working, and it's time to start over. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, now that was on the Senate floor. And you know what was missing from that speech? You know what he didn't say?
What was that?
He didn't say, I told you so. And if there's anybody who would have the right to say, I told you so, it is Ted Cruz, because he was elected based on him telling his future constituents that he would do everything in his power as a senator to stop Obamacare before it inflicted any of the damage that he just read off there. He just read off some horrible, horrible tales from an oncology center. And you notice he said that was from an Austin newspaper.
Yeah, and Austin,
which, by
sort
the
of
way, is
a blue city.
Yeah, extremely. And that is a blue newspaper. That is a heavily progressive-leaning editorial board there.
Even the heavily left-leaning editorial boards can't put lipstick on this pig.
No. But Ted Cruz has tried everything in his power, just like he promised he would, to stop this. And in doing so, he's been accused of hating government, which, by the way, he is a part of and works for.
Hey, he's been accused of being a terrorist.
A terrorist, that's right. A legislative arsonist, a wacko bird. He's been accused of being an obstructionist, of being a young upstart that just doesn't understand how we do things in Washington.
And John McCain is now coming around and saying, "Oh, we need to do a total repeal." Have you heard that yet?
Oh yeah.
Now that he's thinking about throwing his hat into the 2016 ring, now all of a sudden, now he's got to,
he was
now
one of the ones saying,
repeal.
well, it is the law of the land, and we just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, we don't have enough votes.
Nonsense. We don't have enough votes. Why bother?
Yeah,
this is why bother. Look around there, Johnny boy.
Yeah.
This is why bother. This is the difference that it makes.
This is what Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and Jeff Sessions and Rand Paul and others stood together to try to stop before it happened, while taking flack from members of their own party. And taking flack, I know, man, that is some gross understatement.
And that sort of brings us around to what can we do? Because you've heard us talk about these fools. You've heard us speak before about John McCain. Our listeners, they know the score, all right? Most of the people that listen to this broadcast, they are listening because they know something is wrong and they want to do something about it.
And some of them are actively doing things about it. I mean, let's face it, because we know some of the good thing is there's a lot of our listeners who don't just sit and expect other people to do things. They're out there. This is true, but we also have a lot of listeners who genuinely want to do something. They don't like the way things are.
And I'm discovering, man, we're getting a lot of new listeners, a lot of first-time listeners or second-time listeners that they haven't heard us say this stuff over and over again.
It starts with informing your elected representatives of what you think.
Not just that. It even simpler. Even simpler. You have to think back about what made you even want to engage in a political discussion, or what made you, tune in to Honest Answer Radio. You realized something was wrong and you got mad, all right? You were angered by what's going on around you, all right? There's lots of folks looking around these days and going, what can I do? And that's what I was talking about with the courage, and it taking courage. Even in our little city, the little city that Casey and I live in, when we were at our Veterans Day festivities, I heard a mayor give a speech and tout his city's new campaign. One city, one vision. The little city that Casey and I live near is very proud of the fact, and they tout it loud and proud that they are a progressive city. Forward. My point in telling you that is that even in our own community, there are people that will still allow this lie to keep going. They don't care that Obama has lied.
That's true.
And they will bully and intimidate and try to out loud everybody around them so that they'll be too scared to speak out or say anything. And there will be other people standing around inevitably who just simply don't know about any of this stuff. They don't understand it. They have no idea what's going on.
I think I see where you're headed.
And they're
here.
They're going to get their ideas from these people who keep saying things like, well, it's those dead blasted Republicans. It's them who's doing all this. They've never let anything Obama tried to do go through. They're fighting him at every corner. It's all their fault. And anybody who would speak out against him, they're going to be a racist. That's the only reason. Those kinds of things. People was talking to my wife the other day, and they were telling me that's what they hear at work. All right, you want to know what you can do? This is where courage comes in. Speak out. Particularly, if you have any Christian values about you at all, you will gird your loins and speak out and say, no, this isn't right. And the reason I say if you got any Christian values, then you know you're speaking up for what is right. And if you are, then you're going to have, guess what? You're going to have Jesus there with you.
And guess what? Guess what else? See, there's other people who will be around you who will be just like you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be just as angered or just as scared sometimes, because some of the things that have happened have actually scared people. Because I've had people tell me that they weren't just angered; they're scared for what direction our country's going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. There's going to be plenty of other people around you who are just like you. If you don't speak up, they may not find the courage to speak up either.
Or you know who else?
But you may find out that when you do speak up, there are going to be those people who are just like you, and they're going to come to you and they're going to say, "Hey, thank you. Hey, this person's right. You're wrong."
And you know who else might benefit from that? There's another person that possibly is listening to these conversations. There's the person who says, see, this is why I don't like politics. This is why I don't even pay no attention to that stuff. This is why I don't vote. See, those are the people
who
you need to target.
Because they're part of this problem, but they're a part of the problem that technically is feasible. It's fixable.
See, it's not that you've got to change their minds about the issue. It's just that you've got to let them know how it affects them individually. Because, see, let's face it, those people who are saying, My vote don't matter. I ain't got time to be fooling with that.
Or
politics is boring. Those people are fundamentally looking out for themselves. And if it's not hurting them, they don't care.
Or, now look, there's some of the people who do care, and they still don't vote. They're proud of the fact that they don't vote. And it's not because they think their vote doesn't matter. They see the whole thing as participating in a system that they find offensive.
Ooh.
Now, see,
thinking that is.
There's arrogance there and timidity. Because if you don't, see, you can't sit outside a situation, criticize it, and have anyone listen to you. Because have you ever really tried to listen to their arguments? Probably not. Because frankly, when somebody has assumed that position of arrogance to cover up their timidity, you can't take them serious. So why would you listen to them in the first place? I only tend to, when it comes to politics, I really only listen to those that care enough about the situation to say something about it. Okay? And to get into the political system and try and make an attempt to turn it around and direct it to where they feel it needs to go. I have more respect for some of these progressives who are out and out communists. I have more respect for them than I do the people who just don't vote and don't participate, because at least those committed communists believe in something enough to try to do something to affect change or to help the world. I may disagree with their policy. I may disagree with them and know that they're wrong. But when it comes to respect, I still have more respect for them than I do those who absolutely don't participate and who stand on the outside and criticize those who do.
And see, it also
it's like if I walk up to an Alabama football player and tell him how he ought to be doing his footwork. Should that fellow listen to me?
No.
I mean, seriously, and so if you're standing on the outside and you're one of those people who doesn't vote, doesn't participate because you're too libertarian for that, or, because there's some of y'all out there like that, or you're just too intelligent, you're in Mensa, and you know that all politics is crap, so you're just not going to participate because...
I'm above all that.
Well, you know what? You're not just responsible for screwing your own life up. By not participating and not getting passionate enough to do something, you're actually doing harm to the rest of us, because we're still having to carry around your stinking weight.
And see, that also the timidity comes in because those same people that don't care, they don't care enough to do what, just the simple thing of looking into this stuff and seeing with their own eyes what is truly happening, what's really going on, and do the little bit, that little bit of caring enough to educate themselves further about what's going on. See, that's the other thing that people can do when they say, what can I do? You and I read, oh God,
way more than is good for us.
Anyone else needs to. But the simple thing of just getting involved enough to do your own research and look into these things, when you hear them popping up on the news or hear these conversations popping up in the office, it behooves us all to get in touch with our representatives. See, they've gotten the wrong idea about how things really go. I heard John McCain say a million times about Ted Cruz, how he just didn't understand the way things really went on in Washington. I've heard Harry Reid say that, about those young upstarts that just don't have any idea how
things are done around here.
That's right. Well, here's the thing. We do not, and this is a common misconception that people think. Well, look, I voted. Okay, I voted. I voted so that this guy would go there and make sure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen. All right, see, that's where people are wrong right off the bat. we do not send our representatives to Washington, D.C. to think for us and to make decisions for us. See, that's wrong. What they're supposed to do is they're not supposed... Because, see, one of the things, when they were talking about David Barton running for Senate in Texas, one of those MSNBC anchors smugly said, well, is he qualified to be a senator? Well, see, here's one of the things about that. Of course, he's a citizen, and he's the right age. Okay, that qualifies him. But, see, he doesn't have to know how things are done there. Because, really... their job is much simpler than that. They go and they see, okay, this is what's on our legislative plate for today. And they're supposed to go back home and tell us, this is what's coming up. What do y'all want me to do? How do y'all feel about this? And that is where us, caring enough to look up some of these things and keep up with them and know what's on their legislative plate, before they even get here to tell us about it, and then tell them, this is what I want you to do. And then they're supposed to go back to D.C. And cast their vote accordingly.
But see, there's one flaw in your plan.
Uh-oh. Did I forget seniority?
No.
What?
Before those folks ever get to Washington, if we do our jobs right, they don't have to go to Washington, see what's on the agenda, come back here and say, what do y'all want me to do? If we do our jobs right, we elect the people who already know. We make sure that the candidate knows what we want before we send them up there. That comes in actually getting involved in finding candidates to send to Washington in the first place. And every single person out there, everybody, I don't care who you are, if you're listening to me right now, there's something you can do about that. All it requires, if you've got the internet connection to be listening to us, then you at least have a cell phone or a computer. Either way, you can send emails, you can call people on the telephone. If there's something that's going on that you're not sure of what all's involved, you know how to ask.
There's Google.
Yes. I mean,
but what it takes is caring enough and having just enough courage to be informed. Because, see, it does take a certain amount of courage to be informed now, Casey. A certain amount of courage is involved.
Well, you have to have enough guts to admit that there are things you don't know.
Well, okay, there's that. And then there is the courage to actually hear those things. I used to tell my kids, you guys ain't responsible for information you don't have. If you mess up and you didn't know you was messing up when you messed up, I ain't going to come down on you as hard because you didn't know. But after that, then look, you got the information now.
You know
then
what?
You're responsible. See, that's just it. People they love to live in a state of ignorant bliss. Because if they feel like, deep down, I guess, that if they didn't know, somehow or another they'll be able to say, well, I didn't know that this was going on. I didn't have nothing to do with this.
Well, man, we were talking not too long ago about how we wanted our show to be the kind of thing where you don't have to look behind the curtain to see what's going on. We try to tell people, I'm going to do a full disclosure here to let people know how we do part of how we do what we do. At many, many times with some of these issues that Marty and I cover when we get on the air. Look, we weren't insurance experts. No. We've had about as much experience as most people do about trying to insure themselves or
right.
deal with getting insurance through their employer. Okay, that's the end of it we come from. We haven't worked in the insurance industry. Well, we have friends who have.
Got people at church that do.
Yeah. So, journalists, that's in quotes, okay, they have their sources, people that they talk to on background.
Right.
Because they have to own up to being ignorant. Okay. We're not journalists, but we already, because Nobody had to tell us. We didn't have to go to school for anybody to tell us that we were ignorant.
Right.
We realized that from the get-go. You know, a lot of this stuff that we're covering, you know, I've got a good science background. You've got a pretty good science background. You know, we can reason our way around things pretty well, but we don't know everything.
Right.
But we know people who do know things about the situation. I mean, later tonight, I'm going to be talking to somebody about some background.
Mm-hmm. So that we can bring it to you.
Yeah, so
in
that
a more accurate fashion.
Yeah, so that I can, before I open my fat mouth and start talking about a certain situation, I really want to know something about it. Now, am I calling somebody in Washington? No, I'm not asking nobody. There ain't nobody up there in the Beltway right now that I want to ask anything of. I'm falling back on the tried and true. I got a friend. Knows more than I do.
And see, it's just that easy. There's something everybody can do, Case.
Yeah, see, and is this going to take all night for me to school myself on it? No. I told the fellow to give me about 10 minutes, man. I need about 10 minutes. That's about all it's going to take for me to find out this.
Is thinking about something else besides our own personal, selfish wants and desires. Just for a few minutes. We get really caught up in day-to-day life and looking out for ourselves and our families and hustle and bustle, and work gets crazy sometimes, or you get family issues tied up and you get up to your eyeballs in life as it is, and dadgum, I just ain't got time to get involved in all that political stuff. And then you actually sit there sometimes and go, well, what can I do? That one thing you're reluctant to do. Get involved with some of that stuff and care enough to educate yourself so that you can have the knowledge when you've got the courage to stand up to people who are letting a lie go around the world.
I'll tell you what, if you're one of those people out there who's listening to the show wondering, what can I do? Because you just don't know. You don't know where to start. When you listen to our show, here's an example. There have been times when Marty and I, when it comes to foreign policy, we talk about appeasement. Though we come down really, really hard on John Kerry and Barack Obama for being appeasers. All right. Why is that bad? What does appeasement mean? Because there's some folks out there who listen to us that might not be exactly clear on that. I can tell you how to find out, and I can tell you how you can find out where you want to stand on that issue. It's not hard. A lot of the things that Marty and I educate ourselves on, we don't necessarily go and find the latest book that was written on a subject and read the whole thing and devour all of it. No, a lot of times we go back to high school, and we remember things that they made us learn in high school, and then we go and we actually go and read a book based on that. If the word appeasement, if you're not clear about what Marty and I mean when we say that and why we vilify it so much, go back and read about the history of World War II in the late 1930s. Yeah. You'll find out why Winston Churchill, who was not an appeaser, replaced an appeaser named Neville Chamberlain. All you have to do is go back to a time in history, because there's nothing, even though we're talking about insurance here, okay, there's nothing that's happening right now that hasn't already happened in the past at some point in time. If you don't know, go ask a history professor. Most of those people, there's not a historian that I've ever met that doesn't like talking about their subject. Not a one. There's no history buff that I have ever met doesn't want to tell you how to educate yourself about a historical topic.
And man, it's almost like a no-brainer for you and I, because you and I both feel that it's harder for us not to care about this big old ship that we're sailing on here in this country. I mean, it only makes sense that if this is ours, this country, it's ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not out of the realm of possibilities for someone to want to try to take it away from us.
Not out of the realm of possibility at all.
It only makes sense to you and I that if this is ours and we want to keep someone else from taking what we've got, or if this is ours and we want to keep someone from changing it, from fundamentally transforming it into something completely different than what we have and love, then it only makes sense for us to find out as much about how this ship runs as we possibly can and look back on history, because it only makes sense to you and I that the old cliche about history repeating itself comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
See, it's a foreign concept to you and I and a lot of our listeners, to why someone wouldn't feel the need to get as involved in it as we do.
But shoot, man, all you got to do is, all you got to do is just look around. And you can see.
It's incumbent upon us to make them feel the same sense of urgency that we feel. Last Sunday, that was something our pastor was talking about. You know, that there's he's starting to hear a lot of people, you know, that sort of feel a sense of urgency about the condition, you know, the spiritual condition of this country. And he's like, do you really feel the urgency? And it goes back to another thing that Glenn Beck talked about with the man there at the well before Jesus healed him, the blind man. He said, are you ready to be whole? If you're one of those people that are sitting around saying, what can I do? Are you really ready to know what you can do? Because once you get that information, you are going to be responsible for it. This is our ship. Right now it feels rudderless. And it feels rudderless because a whole bunch of the people who's supposed to be manning this ship have fallen asleep on the job, and entrusted it to other people.
Well, see, I'm glad you brought up the ship metaphor.
Well, because, I'm a sailor, you know. Sorry.
Well, if you know that the ship is rudderless or the ship is sinking, if you know, or if you know that there is a rudder, and that dude got drunk and he's passed out, and there's nobody in the pilot house at the wheel. If you know that, and you know the ship is heading towards an iceberg, and you don't get your butt to the wheelhouse and yank the wheel around and turn the ship around, then you're on that ship. If it goes down, you're going too. So let's put it into the self-preservation mode. You know, you might be willing to go down with a ship. I ain't.
I'm not either.
And if you know that the ship, like I said, if you know there's a hole in the bottom, and you don't go and at least tell somebody else there's a hole in the bottom of this boat,
you're just as responsible for it sinking as the person that fell asleep at the wheel to begin with.
Exactly. And you know, so if you don't do something, then you're just as you might as well be causing the problem.
See, now me and Casey right now, we trying to mass communicate. And we know everybody don't want to mass communicate. So we're telling you, y'all can one at a time it. And I mean, let's get back to, you know, oh brother, where art thou? Y'all can one at a time in it.
You can go to your neighbor. You can go to your friend. You can go to the person that you usually sit next to in the pew at the church.
7 million registered Republican voters failed to turn out at the polls in 2012. 7 million. Now that's scattered out over this whole great land of ours, which means that the odds are y'all know some of them. And you can at least go to them and say, you know, man, me and you, we've let this thing head towards the iceberg long enough. Let's at least do our part. and try to stuff something in the hole before it's too late. Because like a ship with the hole in the bottom of it, once a certain amount of water gets in that boat, it don't matter how airtight she was. She's a going down. And once it goes down, can't get it back. And it'd be very, very arrogant of us to think that we can just put the affairs of this country into somebody's hands that we know nothing about and not expect us to go the way of Rome.
Well,
to this
we've
point,
all
every empire has fallen. It would be very arrogant to think that that couldn't happen to us.
And see, we've already put the dude in charge that we didn't know anything about. And I'm saying we.
For decades.
You know,
decades we've done that. And
yeah.
Look at what and this is the culmination of it. The ultimate putting somebody in there that we know nothing about because they actively tried to keep it from us. And we didn't investigate it.
So, there you are, folks.
We've committed the ultimate sin politically there. And now we all have the audacity to look surprised. And I say we, like Casey. We say we, because we are just as much to blame. Me and Casey ain't always been doing this and screaming at the top of our lungs.
And there was times in our past we was liberals.
Yeah. There was even times when we didn't care.
There was times in my past where I would have thought Obamacare was a good idea.
Yep. And would have
because I was stupid and I didn't really understand that the laws of physics apply to politics just like everything else.
And see, now though we know. And
now we know.
This is our part. This is mine and Casey's way of doing our part. And we're telling you something else that you can do for your part that's even simpler than this. It just starts with opening your mouth. Having just a little bit of courage. Just a little bit. Just enough to do your part.
Courage is one of those things that it's like the loaves and fishes parable. You might only have a little bit. And your neighbor might only have a little bit. But for some reason, if you put your courage with your neighbor, somehow you come out with more than you had before.
More than you needed.
And then you can go and give some of your courage to some other people. And those people will then go, it's a crazy thing. But that's how things get turned around. It doesn't happen by me and Marty sitting up here flapping our soup coolers all the time.
No.
I mean, we know we're doing something, but we also know that, man, if y'all don't do something too, then we fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If we're not convincing enough, if we're not selling y'all on this enough, then it's our fault. Then we've got responsibility there too. We're trying to make sure that we don't leave, that we, like they say, to use a football metaphor, which I happen to love, we got to go leave it all on the field. This is the time. If there's ever been a time in history for us to leave it all on the field, to not hold nothing back, now's the time.
Wouldn't it be awesome to have been a part of history? Because, when we turn this thing around, it'll be us that go down in the history books as the ones that saved this thing. Or we can go down in history as the generation that lost this thing, that drove this sucker on into the ground and caused
Well, I will tell y'all this, just because it may look bleak and there's all this talk about courage and all this. I like what I do. Marty likes very much what he does.
Yep.
Here with the honest answer. Tina is loving what she does, her part in this business venture. And it's not because, believe me, we ain't got rich. We're still poor. Okay, financially.
Yeah.
Okay, we're poor, but we enjoy what we do. We enjoy being involved. It is a kick. We already know, Marty, Tina, and I already know that no matter what, if we were to stop tonight shut off the computer and not turn it back on again. That we have actually accomplished a small part, at least, because there have been people that we've talked to that said they really didn't care about politics that much, or they didn't understand it that much until they listened to us, and we put some things in terms that they could understand. All right. Let me tell you, there is no better kick to this gig. That makes Marty and I and Tina, it makes us feel so much better knowing that we've actually had a positive effect. Now, that's the feeling that we go for. That's what every time we turn these microphones on, every time Marty pulls up this show, you know, we get our kick because we know we're doing something that's worth doing. That part of it is its own reward. Now, we've had the reward of having somebody say, thank you, you're doing something that needs doing. All right, y'all can have that too.
Well,
you don't have to have these microphones. You don't have to have the computer. You don't have to do it the way that Marty and I do.
And you know what? We can't do it no more because we went way past our
Did we?
marker.
Did we go way past?
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, our soapbox got a little too tall, and I think it's teetering.
Well, we can't get out of here without talking about bacon.
Well, we guys been say we got to end on a positive note, and what could be a more positive image than meat candy?
We're talking
is also
about
bacon.
Now, how can you get meat candy in your life? Well, I'm glad you asked. The best way to do that is to go to honestanswerradio.com, click on the sponsors tab at the top of the page, and click on the little ad there that says baconfreak.com.
Oh, you ain't gonna be sorry.
No, you will not be sorry. And number one, and number two, you won't be that poor after you get done, because if you go the way I told you to, you get a deal.
Well,
and look, bacon that you get a deal on is the best tasting bacon there is.
and considering how much bacon has gone up lately,
Baconfreak.com's prices are reasonable.
Well, anytime. Well, man, look, baconfreak.com ain't just selling any old bacon. I mean, they're
No
selling
kidding.
gourmet bacon, and if you're getting a deal on gourmet bacon, it just makes sense. And you know, we say it all the time. And spouses, if you really love each other, you'll give each other bacon from baconfreak.com. I'm just saying.
If you love each other, but if you don't, then don't do it. Don't do it.
Do it. And you know what else?
What?
If you are listening to us and you love your family in any way, then you'll also, while you're there on that sponsors page, look down there and see the little thing talking about myfoodstorage.com, because that's another way of giving food to someone. And what better kind of food to give than, well, one, food is going to have a 25-year shelf life. Gourmet food with a 25-year shelf life that they could put back in time of emergency.
There are times when food can save your life.
I'm telling you. And why not have some gourmet food? I mean, really, in times of emergency, do you really want to be stuck with ramen noodles? I mean, really. And had you rather have ramen noodles or a 5-cheese lasagna? Just
well, yeah.
You want ramen noodles or chicken chow mein? Myfoodstorage.com. And again, if you go there through our sponsors page, you're going to get, not only are you going to get a 10% discount, but you're also going to get free shipping this month for the month of November.
So do it.
It only makes sense. And you know what, dude? You were in retail for a long time. You know that coming up is going to be the busiest shopping time of the year.
You know who else
on the horizon?
You know who else is going to be really busy on that Black Friday?
Identity thieves.
Mm-hmm.
It's their best shopping day of the year.
Because you're going to be swiping that card over and over again.
Or going online and putting your information in a website's, what do they call that, shopping cart.
And all websites are not as secure as you think they are.
Wouldn't it make sense to have somebody watching your bank account numbers and your social security number and all of the stuff that defines your identity. Wouldn't it make sense to have somebody looking out for that?
Well, it would make sense if that could be done at a reasonable price.
Like as low as $10 a month?
You know, I think you're onto something there.
Well, we just happen to know somebody that can do that. All you got to do is go to the sponsors page there on our website and click on the LifeLock.com banner. LifeLock.com. Come on. You hear LifeLock every time you turn the radio on these days.
That's right, and because they're the number one.
They invented this thing practically.
Let's put it this way. Okay, Marty and I talk about it. Hey, don't believe us. Don't believe us. Hey, you know, fine. Maybe we're just toothless redneck hicks who don't know any better. I think Rush Limbaugh knows better.
Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck. People have been trying to steal their identities for years.
Yeah, I mean, everybody out there, they know nobody wants ours.
You know why they can't?
Why? Because they got LifeLock. So
this makes sense.
There you go.
And you know, if you're like us, and you're a smoker, and you're really trying to better yourself and kick that awful smoking habit. Notice I didn't say kick the nicotine habit, but you want to kick the smoking part of it. We got you there too. Because if you look on that sponsors page there's a little place called V2 Cigs.
Go to V2 Cigs. Get
yourself a favor.
Yeah, get yourself hooked up with the number one electronic cigarette that's out there.
If you're like us and you've tried the patches and the gum that tastes like dog poop.
The pill that makes you crazy.
Yeah, well, I tried the pill and it made me woo. It didn't work. All right, I've tried that. You know, they have their own little version of nicotine inhalers. It was all right, but it just didn't work. Still wanted a cigarette. Wasn't even close. V2 Cig come along though, and they have an electronic cigarette with all kinds of flavors.
Seamless transition.
Man, it truly changed the way I look at getting my nicotine.
Like Marty says every week, don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself. Go to v2cigs.com. If you need your sports fix, go to honestanswerradio.com, hover your little mouse over the channels button, and go to sportsworldradio.com, the fastest hour of sports on the internet. If sports isn't your game, politics isn't your game, but you want to have a good Christian experience, hover your little mouse over Challenge of the Heart, click on it.
Let Pastor Rick Hope lift your spirits a little bit. Challenge your heart.
Yeah, because every show with Rick, there's a challenge.
Well, dude, we're at the end of the week. The weekend is upon us.
We got a whole weekend of lying coming up.
Oh, I can't wait for the Sunday shows now. All right, scratch that. I can't wait to listen to the very small clips of the Sunday shows.
Yeah, because we can't stand to watch all of them.
But there's going to be a whole lot of, look, what we had said, there's going to be a lot of that. And it's going to be funny to watch some of these Democrat mouths squirm a little bit in the hot seat. So we will be sure to bring this to you Tuesday. But in the meantime, man, just be good to each other. Spend this weekend loving each other.
Be exceptional Americans.
There you go. Be exceptional Americans. And we will see you again on Tuesday.
Good night. Good night, y'all.